Preparing. Got it. Awesome. We are there. All right. I want to welcome everybody. Happy Friday. My name's Amirah Hall, and I help people turn their pain into profit and create their dreams into reality. And so I'm super delighted today because I have a special guest with me. Her name is Julie Parker, and Julie and I are in the same mastermind group. And of course, we're being nudged with the spiritual processes that we're all going through and our growth and striving for goals maybe that we don't even know we're searching for, or they're looking for us. So Julie and I decided we wanted to collaborate, and I was super excited to bring Julie on for her to share with you about face reading and how she uses that for business. And it's a fascinating science, I guess you could say, skill, art, science that goes back through time, and I'll let her tell you all about it. I first experienced face reading back in the 90s, okay? So when I started my journey after my divorce, I was taking a lot of different classes and such in San Diego. So I learned about it a long time ago. It didn't stick with me, but I'm fascinated by it. And so I wanted to introduce you all to Julie. So welcome, Julie. Thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me, Amirah. It's great to be here with you today.
Thank you. So can you tell us how you got into face reading, how you stumbled across this amazing art and science, and how you're like, give us some history on it.
Okay. So I was looking to get into was getting some coaching. I was in a coaching program in 2014 or so, or 2015, and wanted to become a nutritional coach. So in this coaching program, we were in a Facebook group, the other people that were in the group with me, and somebody had posted on there something about numbers, putting birthday numbers in there. So I submitted mine because everybody else was doing theirs, and I didn't know what to do with them once I got them back. I was like, so what do they mean? So I was referred to someone's website, the author of the book that she had gotten them from. So I didn't see anything about birthday numbers, but I did see something called face reading, and I was like, intriguing. Maybe if I schedule a face reading,
yeah,
how cool. What is it? And maybe I can get information on what these numbers mean. So I scheduled an appointment, sent pictures of myself, never met this person, had no idea about her, sent my birthday as well. And holy moly, what came up was amazing. I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but many of us, myself included, are on a journey. I was at the point, especially, I was on a journey to find out like why certain things were happening in my life, why certain things were important to me that I was frustrated with, and just feeling kind of just really on a journey to get some answers. And I had done different types of therapy and, all kinds of different things, and wasn't getting them. And in this one session, I had so many answers, and it was so fascinating what she came up with, just looking at my facial features.
Right. Yeah, so it is fascinating. And this is sort of an aside. I heard a long time ago that couples that marry a partner with a similar shaped face or similar features actually have a better success rate in long-lasting relationships. Have you ever discovered that in your journey?
I have not. However, it could be that they're looking for the same thing. They want the same types of personality traits that they have.
So it's a good match in that way. So whereas some of us who, partner with somebody that doesn't look like or doesn't have this same face shape is maybe a little more of a challenge.
Could be.
Yeah. So please, I'm sorry, we're going off on down a rabbit hole here, and I want to get back to how did face reading. Tell us a little bit about the history. When did it begin?
So it's based on the 5 elements of Chinese medicine, and it originated in China over 3,000 years ago. Taoist monks were the original healers at that time, but because of traditions and cultures, they weren't allowed to use their hands to touch women. So they had to come up with a way to look at somebody and diagnose without using their hands. I don't know exactly how it worked out this way, but they were able to determine people's health ailments by looking at their facial features. colors or lines or different, shades or whatever would come up, and they were able to determine different health ailments. And they also discovered that they could interpret people's behaviors and personality and characteristics by looking at the same facial features, which is so fascinating. So at that time, the emperors got wind of this, and they were like, oh, hey. So they brought these monks in when they were hiring members of their team to make sure that whoever they hired had the right skill set, could be trusted, and would get along with the rest of the members of the team. So they started using it. These monks became the original life coaches, career counselors, and matchmakers at that
Team
time.
builders. Yeah.
Yeah. And then over the centuries, major corporations have used it. Presidents have used it successfully. The entertainment industry uses it to cast actors and actresses for roles on TV and film. And, people in sales are using it. And that's what I've sort of focused my business on, is helping people to really be able to, they look for personality profiles, and they're trying to match everything up with each other, and doing due diligence on the person if they can on the front end, to know as much as they can of the person. And by using this technique, you can look at someone's face. You don't have to ask them what the acronym is for whatever personality profile. You just know, So it just reveals, it's literally looking at facial features: your eyes, your nose, your eyebrows, your lips, your chin, the size, the shape, the location, sometimes like pairs of things, or asymmetric of it all. So
Right.
it's really pretty unique skill. It's been, people have used it for a long time, but it's been long.
Right.
So,
I find it fascinating. So we promised, or I at least promised in my previous episodes, that you were going to come on this week and do a reading on me so people can see. But what's interesting is you're bringing that up as people using it in sales. I find that, and I spoke about this yesterday in yesterday's podcast with Yvonne, is, aligning the inside with the outside. So a lot of times people present a really good image, which is what we're all about, is coming into alignment with that, right? But sometimes we misread it, or there's a sort of an agenda, like, okay, I'm not quite there yet, so I'm going to dress like I'm successful, as an example. Or I'm going to dress like I'm, like in Dubai, I had to literally change the way I dressed in order for me to be approachable, right? But literally, that can be misleading sometimes, whereas the face cannot give you away.
Face is like a GPS of who we are, and
not one of the things. And go ahead.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention that has been fascinating for me with this whole concept and the whole technique is that often what happens is, we're born, we come into these lifetimes, and we have natural things that we enjoy and we're really good at, like hobbies, but due to maybe a family member or a teacher or somebody who's influential in our lives, they don't approve of that. So we adapt to be loved and get acceptance and approval from that person. And then we go throughout our lives, and it's like, what's this emptiness about? Why am I depressed? Why am I sick? It's because we're not honoring our true nature. So also the face reading, in my opinion, I used to say make people cry for a living, because people would come in and I would kind of help them realign with it and rediscover that. It was like such a big relief and self-permission to be who they were meant to be and who they really are. So like the whole image concept comes up. Oftentimes people are dressing to be appropriate to whatever scenario or situation or field or situation that they're in, and it's not true to themselves. So
exactly. We talked about that yesterday. So anybody that's curious, go back and listen to yesterday's podcast. But
go back and listen to it too.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, because that is exactly energetically what we do, is we match, and then we wonder why we don't get along with our boss, or why we get terminated, or why things just aren't working out for us, because we're not listening to the core and our heart of our hearts. So we're lying to ourselves in a sense. We're trying to pull it off on the outside, but we're misaligned. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes it's just so buried that we don't realize that it's there. And then when you have somebody come in who's able to see it quickly and bring it back, it's like, I had one client, I want to say it was like 2016. She came in for one thing, and we ended up talking about something else, or working on something else. But I was just asking her, because this is part of the 5 elements of Chinese medicine. I said, what do you do for fun? And she kind of sat
Nothing.
there. She's like, I don't know. And I said, well, okay, let's just go. Let's kind of, what'd you like to do as a kid? She goes, I love to dance. I love to listen to music. And I said, well, did you? And she goes, my parents didn't allow it because it was against the religion. And I said, were you able to do any, what were you allowed to do? She said, well, I used to go roller skating. And I said, can you still roller skate? And she said, I don't know. I said, get your roller skates and go roller skating. You needed that to balance out her life. So she came back and she started doing that. Oh, the whole different person. So it's amazing the types of things that come up and how it's almost like, I call it spiritual acupuncture. But it's like helping you realign with who you really are, if that's been shoved aside or repressed.
Exactly.
And amongst other things.
Okay, so are you ready to dive in and do a little face reading here for everybody?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to be the guinea pig so people can see how effortless it is on both of our sides. And well, you're working at it, but you're how unintimidating it is. I mean, of course I'm live, but when you're working with Julie, it'll be just you and her.
Right. So right? Can I add a couple things to it? First of all, I want to tell you what it's not, because people will often get intimidated or whatever. So when I work with people or when I do readings for people, because I do readings for people and I teach people how to do it. Super
consulting easy, and you offer consulting, correct?
And consulting, yes. So people are coming in for readings or who want the experience. I want it to be a positive experience for them. We are all our own worst inner critics, and we don't need any help in that department. And if I,
yes, for sure.
So I will never judge or criticize anybody. So remove that from the table. It's always a positive, productive, optimistic experience, I guess. Productive, but optimistic. So
well, everybody has positive traits.
We do, but we just need to
and we have our challenges,
shedding positive light on whatever traits we're criticizing ourselves for. That's what I was doing.
Like my dad always told me I had a big nose. It was a Roman nose. It roamed all over my face. But that's what I grew up with, right? So I always became self-conscious of my nose. I knows my nose is there.
Right. So there's that. And then in addition, I can't read people's minds. I can't tell what people are thinking. And I don't know your deepest, darkest secrets.
That's my job.
Well, right. Yeah. So, and I don't just like say, go away from talk to me, like your hairline, your face, your forehead. No, I just kind of hear whatever comes through. And it's sort of an intuitive thing for me, but I feel like whatever they're supposed to hear is what. So, and I can't predict the future. Again, that's your department. Or at least tell what's going on in the response. So it's all positive. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just take a closer look at your face.
Okay. Do you want me to come closer?
Some of the things you don't have to move. You're fine. So the first thing I want to talk about, there's a theme that talks about very intuitive nature, and that's kind of because you're, the type of work.
Can you slow down a little bit? You're talking so fast, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So the first feature has to do with an intuitive nature.
Okay.
And it means you're a very deep thinker. You process things very slowly, very deeply. And if I were to sell to you, I would give you the bottom line and then let you have time to let me know when you're ready to answer. If I were to rush you for an answer, that wouldn't be very good. So just because people with this feature need to take time and really process it in their own time.
Right. That's true.
So there's that. Yeah. There's also a very creative in coming up with solutions to problems or negotiating in a very creative way, if that makes sense.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
I like everybody to be happy. So how are we going to make it work, right? That was my motto growing up. Well, how can we make this work, or how can we fix this?
Yeah. So coming up with creative solutions to problems is a very skill that you have. In addition, I want to talk a little bit about, there's another feature that talks about being really good at enjoying serving people. So again, you work with clients, you like to serve them, so that would make sense as well. There's another feature that talks about quality and refinement, respect, manners, appreciation being very important to you. Also, details are really important. So if I was selling to you, I would provide as much detail in a concise manner, and then ask if there's any other detail that you're looking for, because detail kind of makes you feel safe and it helps you they're really important in decision making.
Yes,
front.
I like to feel grounded and all the boxes are checked. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's also a level of perfectionism there.
Oh God, yeah, that was our topic yesterday. Yeah. Oh yeah. In fact, after our podcast, I probably spent an hour trying to get the right thumbnail for Yvonne and I and that podcast. And so I just went on and on and on. And I had to say, stop it, Amirah.
Yeah. Done is better than
You're making this is perfection.
Yeah.
But for me, it's got to be a feeling. I feel like,
Mhm.
okay, we're there now, now it's solid. And I think a lot of artists have that sense,
Yeah.
and it could be a level of perfectionism too. And, never being satisfied with an outcome. But anyway, it is something that I have to stop myself.
So, and with that, there's like this theme of like royalty in a sense.
Of what?
Royalty.
Oh,
So there's people will recognize this about you, and it's like there's this level of refinement. It's almost like when the queen walks in the room, she's checking to make sure everything is done appropriately, and people see that and they're like, oh, take care of this. So make sure.
I find that so fascinating, Julie, because my dad always used to say to me, and my clients have heard me say this, is who do you think you are? But I always felt so different. And when I was in Egypt, I felt royal. I just felt like I belonged, and I felt like a privileged part of society. And living in Dubai, I felt completely comfortable, and learning more about embracing wealth and refinement and, walking in that world felt really, really good to me. And, so I think it's past life stuff, because it certainly didn't come from my roots.
Well, I tell you what,
In
wherever it came
Alberta,
from, it's
Canada.
yours. So
Okay.
honor it and welcome it and say thank you.
Right, exactly.
Just
So
be
it's
happy
in my face, right? I can't deny it.
Yeah, it's there. So there's this essence, like I was working in a company several years ago. Actually, there's two things. So I was working in a company several years ago. And I had the same thing as well. So I was walking to the elevator, and I was contracted, wasn't full time, and there was a senior full-time employee that was there that saw me, and he went to the elevator, held it open, and literally did this court gesture.
Oh yeah,
me. Like,
how cool.
what are you doing?
Yeah, he thought he was playing, but you knew for sure that he was
felt
rolling
that
out the
same
red carpet.
essence. And I've also had people say you're a little stiff. And I was like, what does that mean? Well, there's this level essence of like royalness about me as well. I had that same concept, but people feel like they get that sense of, oh, we better be respectful and mannerly and come on my P's and Q's and make sure everything is done appropriately as best possible. Because they feel that sense of, expectation of quality is there.
Interesting, fascinating. Yeah.
So if I were to give you a gift, I want to make sure it's quality, something that you really enjoy, and know that in advance. Like if it's made of fabric, make sure it's something comfortable, like silk, something like quality, soft and comfortable. Or if it's something of like some kind of a item or something, make sure it's quality and dense and like looks good. So beauty is important as well. So it's got to look good. It's got to feel like it's sturdy and like it's quality. So
yeah, that's absolutely true.
Or something.
And I've had people say before that I was hard to buy for, and that was actually coming from my own family members, because they didn't really know me or want to really get me, right? So, but I've had many people give me incredible gifts, and I appreciate all of them, but yeah, there's some that I remember and they stand out, and I'm just like, whoa, even that blew me away. So, but yes, thank you. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what would you say to a person, let's say in the workplace, after, or how would they use the face reading?
Okay. So especially in sales, if you sell for a living, it's helpful to learn all this, or to have whoever, like if it's a boss or a prospect or something, or like a really important client, have get the face interpreted so that you know how best to interact with that person, to engage with them in a way that makes sense with that other person.
That's a great
for
idea.
Instance, yeah. So I had a gal approached me. She was getting ready to interview with somebody in an important position. potential job opportunity. And she sent me a photo and said, would you interpret this face for me? So I said, yeah. So after looking at it, I sent her an email back and I gave her things to listen for, things to do, things not to do, and what's important to this person. So it was funny. Her reply was, it's really interesting. I would never have thought to do any of that stuff. I would never have incorporated any of that in the conversation, but
And
I
she
did
got
it.
the
And I got the
job.
job.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So that was really, it's exciting for me to hear client feedback that they're applying and using it, because it doesn't work. It's so fast, it's quick, it's accurate, it's spontaneous, and it's actually kind of fascinating.
Yeah. Well, you validated something about me today, this royal, presence that I possess. And, it's interesting, even if I look at the ancient Egyptians, my face structure is very similar to a lot of them. And even though I have French and Polish, I'm not Arabic in any way, but yeah, I think there was influences from all over. It's fascinating. So what would you say to people? How else could people use this? So in sales, they could apply it.
They can use it for
How about
clients.
getting married?
Oh my gosh. Anybody that you interact with. I had one client who was asking about a neighbor, because I was like, is the neighbor really important to you? But it depends. Like, it could be a child.
Your stream is cutting out, Julie.
Oh, okay. I was going to say the
So
same.
we're just going to wait a minute and I'm going to ground the line. So obviously there's a lot of excitement on this topic.
Can you hear me?
I hope she comes back.
I can see you. Can you hear me?
There she is. She's back.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Now you're back.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So with family members, with a spouse, with a child, with a good friend, it depends on who's important to you, and if there's friction in the relationship or just annoyance.
Right.
They have that person ready to come from a place of information and understanding, so that you know how to engage with them well in a way that the other person will hear you and be open to hear what you have to say. So for instance, my son, when he was a teenager, one specific experience pops up, but it just illustrates it well. So he was like maybe 13 or 14, and I said, okay, homework needs to do your homework, take the trash out, fold your clothes, and empty the dishwasher. Just a few chores. And he comes back having done one. And it was like, what about the rest of them? Did you not hear me? And it was like this whole erupted. I was like, you're punished, go to your room. And I had known this. He's a one.
And every mom goes through this.
But knowing this, yeah, one thing at a time, one thing, and then come back. And then the next thing, it's a step-by-step process with him. And with me as well. So like when people start doing stuff, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, it's like vomit. It just comes at you, and you're just, it just grosses me out.
Yeah. So everybody processes information differently.
Right.
And to know that in advance saves arguments. It spares you both from friction, and you just get better.
Right. Yeah, you can sort of set the tone of it and respond to what they need, because there's always a responsibility for ourselves. I remember years ago in communication training is if your client or customer or person you're working with doesn't hear you, or your partner, it's on you. It's on them. It's like, well, how stupid are they? How come they can't hear me? Can't they read my lips? No, that's not it. It's about your style. I talk about the energetic frequency behind your tone and your intention, but also that has to match with your actions, and they have to be able to receive it, right?
Exactly.
So if your message isn't being received, how can you adjust yourself in order to get what you want, which is communicating with that person to get your end result, get the trash taken out?
Exactly. And knowing on the front end how to do so.
Exactly. So that's empowering, isn't it? It's empowering to this communicator, and it's also empowering because you get what you want. I mean, I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, for people, relationships, you get what you want. You have a more pleasant experience or relationship with whoever. In sales, you save time and make more money quicker. It's just it works all the way around.
Love that. Those are all positive reasons for this. Yeah. I'm thinking about some people in my life that I've come up against, and I look and their face was it either stopped me, or there was something intuitively that I didn't trust. Can you speak about maybe some features that people might be alerted to if somebody has a particular feature?
It's a
Or is
long, long
that
topic.
overgeneralizing?
It's, well, like for women who are dating or people who are dating, period, actually it doesn't even matter. If you're dealing with somebody who is emotionally unstable, you'd want to know in advance, right? So you can know if you have to deal with them, how best to do so, or how to spot it so that you know if so you're not blindsided. So typically, people's eyes, the one I'm going to share with you today is eyes. So typically we can see white on both sides of the eyes, right?
Yeah.
When you're looking at somebody.
Yeah, like you
Now,
can see my white on
right,
both
you can
sides of
see,
my
well, I put glasses on, I'll take one of these stuff. You can
pupil.
see the white on both sides.
Yes.
So if you see somebody with comes at you that you can see whites on all four sides, hey, it's
Run.
shocking, it's startling. I did a talk, it was presented.
Run.
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Yeah,
So
I think
eyes
it's
kind of represent
thyroid
the energy
issue.
of the
I think
person.
it's thyroid.
Well, it could be thyroid too, but emotional imbalance. So if there's one, so if there's three whites, they call them three whites. If there's white on the bottom and or like 3 versus 4, be cautious, or they could just be like their cortisol levels could be super, super low, or they just might be overdoing it. But watch, like,
So there
watch
may
the
be a
energy.
physiological issue,
It could be.
or you should run.
Well, the physiological could be causing, more than just that. So just be aware of that.
Right.
But yeah, if you see somebody who looks at you like kind of intense, I'm gonna rethink
Yeah,
it.
yeah. That's creepy anyway, but
right. Yeah. And then people who have like
I heard
really,
years ago about the ears. Can you talk about the ears? How significant that is?
sure. So one of the things the ears have to do with is how people, if they follow the rules or not. So like if you have a child, one of my friends has, when I first told her that I was learning how to do this, she said, "Oh, look at my son's ears. Tell me what they mean." And I said, "Oh." So he had ears that stuck out.
Right.
Flush to the face, they stuck out. And that means the person is independent. They don't necessarily follow the rules. They could be like very stubborn. So that, and she was like, that's exactly.
And what about people? Because there's that surgery where they tack the ears back to the head. I know of a friend that was going to do that with her daughter, but yeah, because girls somehow it's more, we can cover it up if we don't like that feature. But what happens to a person's personality if they have surgery or they change?
Well, I'm going to talk
that
just
facial
generally
feature?
speaking about that. So, especially with wrinkles. So often women will do things to like tighten their wrinkles or to, pull them back or whatever, either facelift or Botox or something like that. And there are decades in our face as well.
Yeah,
And
I know that.
well, they show up in the face. So like this is the 20s, and then the 30s is under the eye, and then 40s and so on. So if we have like the lids are called I think it's called a blepharoplasty.
Yes.
But anyway, if those are tucked, then there's a lot of wisdom. If we have a lot of wrinkles from that in that area, in those areas, and we have them changed, we get wisdom from those wrinkles. Okay, from whatever
So what if
experiences
you've
we had
got
in
the
that decade.
wisdom? What if you got the wisdom, but you still had your eyes tightened up?
What ends up happening is you have to relearn that same lesson again to regain that wisdom, but oftentimes in a more intense manner.
I think everybody that just had a facelift or Botox just fell on the floor. Oh my gosh.
So just, they say that there's
wow.
Wrinkles are God's makeup. So just honor it. It's almost like
okay. So I had the overhang, women are, especially conscious. I had that, my dad and my aunts and we all had our, that skin that hangs over. So there's like, if it's excessive, can you speak about that? A lot of people have that.
They do. Yeah. And one of the things that it can mean is that there has been like heavy criticism in the past, like they were heavily criticized.
And I just erased it.
I mean, that's a little bit different than like the decade wrinkles, but
okay. Oh. Yeah, when we were having our conversation, I learned something about Julie. Is she had a chin, what do you call it? I call it a chin slide.
I had sliding genioplasty. Also had my nose done,
Okay.
but I had it went from my nose down to my neck.
Right. I
And
had jaw surgery back in the 80s, and they cut my jaw from ear to ear. And while we were doing it, the surgeon said, this is such an extreme surgery. Let's just give you a little bit of a chin too. And they cut the bone off and they just slide it forward a little bit. In your case, I think they put in a little bit of an extra bone, right? I didn't need extra bone.
actually, what they did was they went through my lip. Because I worked for a
Oh,
cosmetic surgeon at the time. They went through my lip inside, so there's no external scars, which was really
yeah, me
nice.
too. Yeah,
So they went
right.
in and they took a saw and they sawed off my chin and then pulled forward a couple centimeters, and there's a metal bone plate.
Oh, you got a plate,
But
bone
I
plate.
have a bone plate, but I have more of a chin. So what that meant previously was that
Right.
my emotions were um,
Repressed.
repressed emotions as a child.
Yes.
And now I'm a little bit more forward with providing information, a little bit more stubborn, strong-willed, not so much, but more than I mean, I have more of will express my
Right.
emotions.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting because I remember the surgeon said to me, like, I didn't go in there for plastic surgery. I did that because of my jaw and my teeth. But it was fascinating because he said to me, this will change your face. And I was like, well, I think I was 26. So it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. I mean, I didn't have too much energy on it. And I
Yeah.
never really thought I was attractive. So I think as years gone on, I find that the way the skin and the muscles and everything has changed and shifted has benefited me. Just having that little bit of chin. Would
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree.
you
I
agree
mean,
if that would be
I was
in
actually
your case?
very
Yeah.
self-conscious of it when I was younger. So
Oh,
I had to
yeah,
do
I think I was too, but I didn't
something.
put to it. Yeah. My
Yeah.
family was really growing up in Canada. It was kind of like, don't shine, don't show up, don't show off, as they called it. Anybody that
Yeah.
spoke up was a show off.
So,
So yeah, I was an emotional child, but when you said repressed emotions, I think that was about the overhang. I
yeah.
I was sensitive and cried easily, but I don't know that I was in touch with what I was upset about or why I was being affected. So I guess it's slightly different. There's still repressed emotions and pain and
Yeah.
anger. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Fascinating. So do you have many clients that come that have had a lot of facial augmentation? And I
Not,
mean, does
not
that mess things up in
really.
terms of the reading?
Yeah. I haven't had many people come to me that have had facial surgery. I've had people that have scars or that like women who have done their eyebrows and they have noticed a huge difference because the eyebrows, that's the first, I mean, I think I have a call with a client and she has like no eyebrows. And I'm hoping she didn't pluck them when she was younger, but
Thyroid issue.
well,
Losing hair.
thyroid and also liver. And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
so
There's a
that's
liver
the liver
meridian.
area.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it has to do with like people's confidence, people's drive, and how other people approach them. If they feel like they can take advantage of them or not. So when I see
Right.
people that have that have altered or have lost some of that eyebrow, I mean, mine have kind of lightened over the past several decades, but
Yeah,
just to
it
feel
does.
ventilated.
Well,
Yeah.
and mine too. I lost a lot with my thyroid issue, and then becoming such like a natural platinum blonde. My eyebrows have gotten lighter and lighter over the years. So to help balance the face, I had some what they call what do they call that?
Microblading?
Yes, microblading.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
was interesting is years ago, and I was always self-conscious of this, one eyebrow was slightly higher than the other. And I remember this to this day. The woman reading me, my face, she said to me, you have a challenge with money. It's either in or it's out, or there's always an imbalance. You don't have a steady flow. Like some people have real strong eyebrows and a real steady flow of income. And that was
Mhm.
true. That was when I was struggling. And so my question would be, is since they're microbladed and they look more even, has that assisted me? Because I would say yes. I would
I would
say
think
that has made a
absolutely.
difference.
I mean, you can tell, but from your experience, but I would absolutely think because that's more permanent. I mean, you've got those on you
That's
now.
right. So it's
You can't
adopting
change
that
them.
and knowing that. It's interesting how this keeps coming back after what, 40 years of that woman saying that. So, even in my own readings, Julie, I'm very careful. at how I express something, because we are literally programming somebody to create something or to not create something in their
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
so I really want to emphasize that is like, hey, I changed it, but I also had changed the inside. And so
Yes.
it's almost like, as we spoke about yesterday, inside matching the outside. Is
Absolutely.
there's an incongruency. Like you can have all
Yes.
the facelifts and all the
Yeah.
Botox and all that stuff, but if you're not shifting your emotional level,
Mhm.
you won't be able to carry it off. And I've seen some
Yeah.
people,
Oh yeah.
they look horrible. Not
Yeah.
only that, the surgeon messes up, right? I feel for them because they're
Well,
stuck with that now.
so that's another story. So one of my relatives, I'm not going to say who it is, um, gorgeous, gorgeous
Oh, come
woman.
on.
No,
I'm teasing. Of
anyway,
course, you're not going to tell.
so she had had a facelift from the man I worked for several years ago. And she would, I mean, she was beautiful before. I mean, gorgeous woman.
Right.
But she was hoping that the exterior would change the interior. It did not. So what ended up
Yeah.
happening, because she still had that low self-worth about her, it looked plastic on her and it looked awful. And it looked like she was wearing a mask.
Well, worse yet, you go to Southern California, and I'm sorry, ladies,
Oh,
everybody looks the same.
yeah.
You know, their character, their soul is almost like it's erased,
Yeah. People don't realize that
and
they have to
that's
match
creepy to me.
yeah. Well, what are you gonna do? Right.
Well, yeah, it's a process we're all going through. We're learning and trying to understand that and go to the deeper level. But you know, when everybody's just focusing on the material and not looking at their heart and following their heart, that's where you're going to have the mismatch, and that's where you're going to continually have to come back and reincarnate for more lessons and on and on and on. So yeah. So what about men? Men do less than us ladies,
Yeah.
but with
Well,
beards and with bushy eyebrows or hairstyles, does that affect or
it definitely
change?
does. Yeah, it definitely does. So, I mean, it's interesting when I see a person that has a beard, I kind of like see what's going on in their personality once I talk to them a little bit. But other people who come in for a reading, and I don't read as many men as I do women. Men, it's interesting. The past month or so, people have come to me and more curious about it than men. But they don't. Not many of them really want to hear what I have to say. I mean, they're curious, but they do a lot of talking. And when there's anything on the chin, especially when there's like a pronounced chin or a longer chin, I always tell people who are sitting, if you're in a group setting, go to the person who has the longest chin last, because they want the last word. And they
That's
love to talk,
funny.
right? So it's just it's interesting to watch the change with, like, my son has a little bit of a beard, and knowing him how he behaved before he grew facial hair or let it grow, and then now. So it's just interesting to see the differences. But yeah, it all affects you somehow. I mean, I remember I tried on a blonde wig when I was completely dark haired way back probably 30 years ago, and I was like, oh, this feels weird.
Yeah.
Cool. So it was interesting to feel the difference of the energy, but everything we do is complete, like if you change your eyebrow shape and have them done, whether they're, drawn in with like makeup or whether they're permanently, you're going to feel the difference if it doesn't
Oh
match who
yeah.
you really are.
And it's interesting you brought up the hair color thing, and I want to address the beards too, because I know the trend right now, and a lot of guys have really unkept beards, and some of them are really bushy and long. I don't know if they're priding themselves in growing their hair long or something like that. It's like a man thing, but it turns me off. I feel like, okay, because I guess my face and there's a little bit of perfection of liking the clean and the crisp, and that triggers me. I feel it. And honestly, I would probably not reach out or engage with that type of person. As you're talking about it, that would
Okay.
be maybe, an instant reaction,
Yeah,
rather
well, I can
an
see that because
unconscious reaction that
yeah,
I wouldn't maybe necessarily trust them.
it doesn't
They have
resonate
to
with you.
prove
Yeah.
themselves to me. Yeah. And then about the hair color, same thing with gals. Their hairstylists especially are guilty of this, right? They're changing their hair color every other week. And in my sense, I'm like, well, who are you? Like, I don't get a sense of who you are. Maybe they're still trying to figure it out too, right?
Or they're just trying to express themselves differently each time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would do it with a different outfit or a different style, but anyway, yeah, that's
Use the right
their
color.
way of
Yeah.
standing out. Yeah. What about tattoos on the face? Because more and more people are doing that. That seems to be a really kind
Yeah,
of
that's a good
hip thing for
question.
younger people. I can't imagine when the skin starts sagging what that's going to look like.
Right. Yeah. I haven't seen many people with facial
Oh,
tattoos.
no,
So
they're
that's
not the ones
interesting.
coming to you for a face rating or to read their boss, because that's not something you would see in the business world. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah,
okay, well, that's an off
it's a
topic.
good question. Yeah, a different topic.
I'd be curious. Well, again, it's a permanent marking, just like it would be
Yes.
uh, an eyebrow or
Yeah.
lips, something
Yeah.
like that. So do you have any conclusion or any reminders? I know that you have a special offer that you'd like to extend for anybody listening, and I'll also put it in the description. What would that be, Julie?
Yes. So I would love to do some demonstrations and just whoever is interested in having just a little sample reading done. It's 15 minutes. It's totally free. And you
Okay.
can just email me. And
Okay.
are you going to put my email in the, so it's like I said, it's a little sample reading. It's 15 minutes. We get on Zoom call and we just do the reading.
Fantastic.
They get to learn what their face says about them, and maybe you get a little bit of insight about their personality and see how quick. And so people love hearing about themselves. They love to experience new and different things. This is not new, but it's widely known. So
Ancient.
just to see what their face says about them, it's a fun experience. I think that's positive. And yeah, just reach out and email me and we'll go ahead and get it.
Well, I love that. Or if anybody wants to have, like, they're doing an interview or they have a
Mhm.
major business proposition or a project that they're getting involved with to get
Yeah,
reading team, for
yeah,
instance. I think that would be
exactly.
fantastic. Now, that wouldn't be free. You're going to be charging
Right.
for,
That would be a different, that would be an
but I
actual.
think that would be fascinating and powerful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know
You are
that
so welcome.
people will be reaching out to you. The link will be in the description. And
Okay.
so I wish you all a happy face and a happy
Happy,
weekend. Keep that
happy
smile on your face
Friday.
no matter what, right?
Yes. And Amirah, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here with you
You're
today.
so welcome. I hope we can do this again and collaborate and have
Absolutely. It'd
more
be
fun.
fun.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye-bye.